This boot is a national treasure to Australians, but heard some rumblings that their quality's dropped off a cliff in recent years, and for a $600 boot, you hope that it'd be good enough quality to justify the money and back the brand name that's been around for almost a century. So we're gonna cut this thing in half, run it through our test, really see if RM Williams are worth $600. Has the quality dropped over the years? And is this national treasure more of a Nicolas Cage national treasure? So what I mean by nearly a century is 1932, RM Williams tried his hand at producing leather goods after learning the trade from a passing horseman known as Dollar Mick, which is the coolest start of any brand of all time, the most Australian thing that we've ever seen. He didn't even start off making boots, he started making saddles, and he sold them to the owners of the cattle stations, which allowed him to make enough money to set up a shop in his father's shed in Adelaide in 1934. Then soon after he had the shop set up, the RM Williams name really started to get a reputation across Australia for high quality products, specifically their range of riding boots that are made from a single piece of leather that wraps all the way around the boot, like we have here, a hole cut boot, because it's less prone to failure, less stitching to fail, but a lot harder to make than a traditional boot. Another crazy thing about this story, and another weird Australian spin on it, is at that time, RM's success allowed him to buy a small mine, which he literally struck gold in. He was quoted as saying, "I used to stagger down the street to the bank with these bags of gold, a shotgun on each side, and thinking I was pretty important." Which, to be fair, I'd feel pretty important with bags of gold. But during the 40s and 50s, they expanded into more clothing inspired by Australian outback and bushmen. During the 60s, they really started to embrace more of the people that would wear their boots in the city, not just workers and riders, which extended and expanded the RM Williams business, which also allowed them to expand into catalogs, which made them not just well known in Australia, but across the world, where they won the Chicago Direct Mail Advertising Association Award for the best of its kind in the world. And then in the 80s, RM slowly started to back away from the company, and by 1988, he had sold the business. Then in 1993, RM's longtime friend Ken Cowley was entrusted with running the business. Then just a decade later, in 2003, RM Williams dies at the age of 95 and was given a state funeral. It left behind this huge legacy of the RM Williams name, this style of boot, and the business continued to grow and expand into 50 different retail stores and slowly diversified the product range. In 2013, a share of the business was sold to El Captain Asia, a private equity sponsored by LVMH, Louis Vuitton. And in October of 2014, a global fund of managers of 30 major Australian not-for-profit pension fund acquired the residual stake from Ken Cowley. This seems to be where people started to wonder if the quality dropped off. Anytime a small business gets sold to a big corporation, people start worrying. Sometimes it's warranted, sometimes it's not. Then in 2015, everyone's favorite Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, became a private investor in the company. And then in 2019, he was appointed as the brand ambassador. Then just a year later, they sold the entire company to the Australian-owned company Tattarang, which acquired 100% of RM Williams, and with the goal of bringing everything back to the local Australian hands, including production, sourcing materials, and tried to re-establish RM Williams as a high-quality brand. So now, 4 years later, after that new acquisition by an Australian company, has the world-famous RM Williams boots actually maintained their quality, or have they slowly dropped in quality? And right around that time when they sold to Tattarang was when I first reviewed RM Williams, and I think it was right around the transition point, so we've got something to actually compare it to see if it has fallen off a cliff in just the 4 years. Is that Daisy Edgar Jones from the summer hit movie Twisters? Nope, it's me and the harness that they stole from us, this patented design that happened to be in the movie Twister. Super cool, but they definitely stole it, and we've got receipts. We have their order where they bought our hardware just to put in the movie without giving us any credit. If you haven't seen that, go watch it. But there's a good reason why they stole it. It's pretty cool. You know, this is the single side version. It relieves all the pressure off your neck. So if you just want a single camera and it'll also look like a badass, and distribute the weight over your shoulder and clip your camera to your belt so there's literally no weight on you. That's the Bandit camera harness. And this is the single one, so it's a lone Bandit. We also have the double one for more professional photographers. You want to run a couple cameras, but this is great for casual photographers, one shooter photographer. If you just want to look cool with the harness on and have a reason to justify wearing it out of high quality leather, canned by Silo, who makes the heaviest duty work boot leather in the entire world. That's what this harness is. If you want one of these, check them out below. Also check out our kilties for your heritage boots. More importantly, our boot breakers that give you just a little bit of squish in your really hard heritage boots. And Scratch and Knit's going on right now, so check it all out below. Check out me, Daisy Edgar Jones, looking cool, looking like I'm going to chase down some tornadoes. So check all that out below, and thanks for Rose Anvil for sponsoring this video and for you guys for supporting these ads, because it's a lot more fun to show you our products and what we're doing than random stuff that you don't care about. So thank you for supporting these ads. See ya. Check it out below. So then what boot are we reviewing? Well, the brand is R.M. Williams. The style is the Comfort Craftsman. They weigh 1 pound, 5 ounces. They retail for $589 with variations anywhere from $539 to $869. And they are made in Australia. The way they position this boot is the Comfort Craftsman is handcrafted in Adelaide and can be worn as a light work boot or a dress boot. And that's it. And if you want a pair of these, check them out via link in my description. So now let's start figuring out if this boot has actually fallen off a cliff. Is it still worth 600 bucks? If we look at the upper, it does look like it's a really nice leather. You know, this reminds me a lot of the natural Chrome XL. Has a lot of pull-up, has a lot of unique color and variation. It'll age really beautifully as you slowly wear it and that patina develops and the highlights, the lowlights. It looks like a really beautiful leather. We did the burn test on it, no fake pigment on top, no plastic coating. And then we took the measurement and it's only 1.3 millimeters thick, which is what you see in sneakers. You see sneakers anywhere from 1 to 1.5. The previous version we reviewed was 1.7. So they have gone with a thinner leather, which is gonna be less durable, but easier to break in, more breathable potentially, and lighter, but you lose all the potential durability from a thicker leather, because this is essentially just sneaker leather. A high quality sneaker leather, but it's about the thickness of sneaker leather. And to get an idea of the durability of it, we ran the puncture test. The old pair leather punctured through at 67 pounds, the new punctured through at 53 pounds, kind of reinforcing that it is a little bit lighter leather. It's not necessarily worse leather, but it's definitely not boot leather. This is a very dress boot leather. You could say that they have dropped in quality, and I'm not super hyped that they're using sneaker thickness leather. I would much rather see 1.8 to 2 millimeters. But what about the inside? Have they changed anything inside of here? It looks like it's pretty much the same setup with the lining and the heel counter here. You know, it is leather, so you're gonna get that durability. It's around the same thickness, so I don't think the lining's changed much at all. But one thing that kind of blew me away about this boot, because this is the comfort boot, it's made to be more comfortable. But right here in the heel, you've got a little bit of a foam patch, and it's not like glued in, it's just taped in. And so you just have this really cheap, like really fragile, flaky foam at the heel that's not fully glued in, it's just taped in, and you can't really take it out without removing a big chunk of foam. And when you do remove it, you're just standing on top of that foam, which is crazy to me, because you're just standing, is it foam or is it leather? Let me get the lighter. Put the flame to it to see if it melts or if it's leather that doesn't melt. And unfortunately, as you're watching here, that melted. So they use a fake leather for the insole. That is crazy. Not only do they put this cheap little piece of foam at the heel, but you're not even standing on leather, you're standing on fake leather for the insole. I don't think I've ever seen any boot company do fake leather for an insole, let alone a $600 boot that's the pride of Australia. That is insane. I can't believe they did that. So what's the problem with that? Well, fake leather is nowhere near as durable as leather. And the problem with that is that once you wear through that, it's not a removable insole. You can see it's nailed into the construction of the boot. So if you try to remove it, you'd effectively ruin the structure of the boot. So that has definitely fallen off a cliff. That is not a good sign. That's crazy. Because the old ones, this is not their comfort version. You know, this is their more standard version. It's more traditionally built. You're standing on a big, fat slab of veg tan leather like a true heritage boot. We'll look at it more and explain more when we actually get it cut in half. But another thing that's different from the two versions, being the comfort and the regular, is this is a rubber outsole. You know, the more traditional version has a thick treated leather outsole. And you know, it is what it is. It's made for more grip. It's more built like Iron Ranger you've seen, where they don't have a leather midsole and it's just a rubber outsole sewn to the Goodyear welt. Red Wings are like, they're made in the US and they're $300 to $350, not $600 with a fake leather insole in there. There's not much leather in this boot when it comes to construction, because even in the heel stack, you can see there's 2 layers of real leather. They've got a layer of fake leather. The rand is fake leather. The welt looks like it's real. So is the construction at least true Goodyear welted? Well, the one way you can tell is you just slightly pull away the upper and see if you can see the stitches going on the inside. And you can see just a little bit of that stitching popping through in addition to some glue. Sometimes they do both, so you can't always write off a boot as not Goodyear welted if it's glued, because on occasion they do both. So let's cut it in half and see, maybe on the inside it's a lot better. Maybe the redeeming qualities are hidden on the inside. So let's cut it in half. Okay, we got it cut in half. So if you're not subscribed, consider doing it. Shout out to all the Australians. Not gonna be a great one for your flagship boot of the country, I don't think, but still subscribe, still support us. We're just trying to show you the truth of what you're buying. So let's see what's inside. You would hope that there's some redeeming qualities on the inside, but this boot is built like a $200 boot. You know, it doesn't have any leather in the construction. It's fiberboard, synthetic shank, more fiberboard. It does have a cork filling, but yeah, for 600 bucks, how are you getting to the $600 price range? You know, because hole cut boots are really difficult to make. They're a lot more labor intensive. They're a lot more precise of a process to get one single sheet of flat leather to take a three-dimensional boot shape. And with this refined of a shape where it's really pointy, that is tough to do. So that's part of where the price comes from. But everything else is built like a cheap boot, because the only leather you really have in the sole construction is that 2 layers of leather in the heel. That's it. I guess the welt is at least real, but the fake leather is crazy to me. Because if you did wear through that fake leather insole, you just get down to the foam, and if you could pull that out and put a new insole in, you have to chip out all the old foam that's glued to it, and then throw a new insole in and hope that you removed all the lumps so you could just throw another insole in of some kind to make the boots wearable. And keep in mind, once again, this is the comfort version, and that's probably why they went with a fiberboard, because it's still gonna compress and shape to your foot because the cork underneath. Man, for 600 bucks? Like the difference between these two boots of 4 years, one's the traditional, one's the comfort craftsman or whatever, but still, even in this old version, they had more leather in the heel stack. They have a better half sock liner. So this might be the biggest crime we've seen in a $500 plus boot. That is crazy to put into this expensive a boot. Just a fake leather insole, the one part that might be the toughest part to fix in a boot, they make out of the cheapest materials possible. So this whole video took a complete shift, because I thought it was gonna be like, oh, it's pretty decent. It's not as good as you might want, but like, this is not good. And not good at all. So are RM Williams worth $600? Not this one. It's a tough case to say this boot's worth 600 bucks. Has the quality actually dropped? Sure seems like it. I can't imagine that they were worse built than this over the last century, or even the last 4 years, or even over the last 10 years. So then is this boot actually a national treasure of Australia, or more of a Nicolas Cage national treasure? Definitely more of a Nicolas Cage national treasure. You know, it's got the look of an actor without a lot of the skills, the history of a really famous popular actor without the substance of a really popular actor. And I like Nicolas Cage, especially the more modern stuff, but it fits the comparison really well, because this kind of is the Nicolas Cage of boots. Honestly, RM Williams should be pretty embarrassed of this boot. I can't imagine selling this to people for 600 bucks with a fake leather insole and like a $200 boot construction, and being like, oh, we make everything in Australia. We maintain the brand values. We make the best boots in Australia. These are a national treasure, not Nicolas Cage. They're terrible. The only thing that's really good about this boot is the fact that it's a hole cut, and you can point to that as part of the reason why it's so expensive, but not $600 expensive. That's crazy. Yeah, RM Williams, this is a stinker. That's not a good boot. They should be embarrassed, and I hope that they fix that, because if you did fix some of these things, you know, if it was real leather and you fix this little flap and you add some different materials on the inside, you can make it worth 600 bucks, but not how it is now. So I would avoid this boot at all costs. Get one of these and just throw a nice little insole in it. I don't want to plug the boot breaker insole, but like just a little thin insole will add all the comfort that this boot has while still maintaining all the heritage qualities and the durability. So let me know what you guys think. Sorry, Australia. Sorry, Stridewise. I'd like to see you defend this one. That's a tough sell. And let me know what you think of their qualities that dropped off. Am I off on anything? And thank you for supporting these videos. It's the only way that we can actually show you what you're spending your hard-earned money on, for better or for a lot worse. So thank you guys. See ya. So